What's up, guys? Welcome to Mikey Yourself. And for today's video, we're going to do something that I've never done before. I've been watching YouTube. Go surprise, right? Anyhow, and saw some stuff being done with metal that makes your bike look better. So I'm going to give it a shot. I've been kind of an amateur when it comes to polishing metals. So I want to take that first step, I would say. Like in that first step, I'm saying you're going from just using like some cream and maybe a little buffing wheel to actually getting into the compound level of polishing metal. So let's take a look at what I'm talking about polishing, why we're going to polish it, and how we're going to polish it. Damn it! So what I do want to polish is the aluminum exposed, or the shiny aluminum, whatever you want to call it, on the wheels of the Road Glide. So you really can't see the rear one there, but I did some preliminary cleaning on them because they got hit with the sprinklers and they had all kinds of hard water spots on them. But the majority of the bike, or the accents of the bike, are all chrome. You know, and the things that I think take away from that chrome are like the lowers and the wheels, and well, of course the bake rotors, right? And so that's one thing that I've looked at. You know that I've refinished my lowers, because when I first got the bike, it had a bunch of pitting and stuff on it, and they look great. I think they can look better, and this may be the first kind of lesson that I learned in polishing metal, to look to attack these to get them closer to being chrome without having to buy chrome. Now, I don't know what the lowers go for price-wise. I'm going to take a look. Maybe it's worth the time to do this. Maybe it's not worth the time, depending on the pricing, right? So we'll see. But if I can do this for relatively cheap, I think it'll be cool. So what I'm going to be doing is using compound with a buffing wheel to polish these edges up, to really bring them out to a really good shine. Now, the one thing I've learned, or at least viewed, is that you can take it to a point of almost chroming them, but to keep that mirror finish, it's very, very hard work. Like, you're constantly doing it. So the goal is to take it to a very highly polish, right? To really make it look good. So you're kind of like, you're not mirrored, but you're definitely not this like brushed, nickel look. So we're going to have to pull the wheel off of this just to get to all of the little areas. I want to make sure we get the rotors off, because what we'll do is I'm going to hit these areas here. So I'm not going to attack the actual brake area, but just where this bolts in. And then having these out of the way will allow me to access this area a little bit better to polish that up and make it look really good. So yeah, I don't know. Let's take a look at the tools that we're going to use. I got to get a table set up and get this wheel off. But yeah, let's talk through it, and that way we can see what happens. Tires off the bike, or I should say the wheel is off the bike. And we're not going to cover any of that stuff because that's not really that important. What I did do is, you see I got tape on here, just so I can keep in mind what was for these, the rotors, what was outside versus what was on the inside. And then I just marked it with a 2. And then on the inside of the rim, I put a number 2 here. So that way I know this side belongs on this side and this is the outside. That's probably way overthinking it. But, and I'm really going to work this one side at a time. So I'll take this off, do the wheel, and then I'll do the rotor and then put it back on, and then flip it over and kind of repeat the process on the other side. But just in case, right? Sometimes you start to get kind of sidetracked and end up doing something you didn't plan on doing before. So in case that happens, I have a reference. So let's take a look at the tools that we're going to be using to do this, or at least that I'm going to use to try to do this. And that is, I bought a compound kit off of Amazon, and it comes with 6 bars. Now, one of the bars I have out, it's a red bar, and that bar is made for like gold and silver. It's not aluminum or stainless steel. These bars are specific, well, 3 of these are specific for aluminum, stainless steel, and then your green and blue are your more fine, I guess. So these would be a little bit more coarse. This would be finer, and made for kind of general metals, right? So it doesn't really matter. It's not very specific. So it's just a little bit different. So we've got those. You can see I've got some wool wheels in there that I can use to attach to my Dremel. I was trying it on jewelry and stuff like that. But we've got those. And then I've got these polishing or buffing wheels, whatever you want to call them. I got this actually as a bigger kit that came with like scouring pads and brushes or whatever. And I've kind of just messed around with them doing chrome polishing with just using mothers. And that's why these are all dark for the most part. But same things can be used for this. And it's kind of interesting because the way you clean these after you're done putting the compound on it, it's going to get like, I don't want to say like it gets hard or whatever. It's like you'll just see there's a lot of compound left on the wheel out over time, and you'll need to clean that off to make these things nice and soft again. And the way you do that is, or at least what I found online, was sandpaper. So you just run it on sandpaper and it kind of, takes it off. So you can see here that was cleaning them up, and that's a mixture of compound that I was kind of messing around with, and then some mothers that I had left on some of these from a prior project. And then in order to spin these guys, we're going to just use drills. So I got 2 different drills here just in case the battery dies. But yeah, you just attach those and you kind of work your way through the process. So let's take a look at the bars here and their kind of sequence. In the kit, these bars came in, it had this on the back, so it just kind of shows you the coarse to fine, right? So you want to start with your coarsest and you work your way up to your finest, just like you would with sandpaper. You start with 400 grit and you work your way up to like 3,000 or 5,000, whatever it is, depending on what you're working on and how shiny you really want to make it. So in this particular case, again, we took out the red bar, and that's that bar right there. It goes black, brown, white, green, and then blue. So I've kind of got those lined up. I went to Harbor Freight and picked this one up. So I'm going to blast through that before I eat up that larger bar there. But yeah, so this should be pretty simple. So what we'll do is kind of just take it in order. We'll use the block bar, use the drill gun, and we'll try different variations of these pads. I don't know which one, depending on the angle and how to get to this. The areas, what's harder, I'll switch that up. But essentially work through the entire wheel, just the chrome or aluminum with the black bar, wipe it down really good, and then hit it, do another round trip with it, but with the brown bar, then white, green, and then blue. So let's get started. We're going to start with that black bar, and I'm going to go ahead and just use this kind of tapered style one to kind of get out here and work my way around. So I'll go ahead and do that. Enjoy the tunes while I do it, and we'll see how this first round turns out. All right, so you saw kind of the process there, and I know it sped it up and, threw some jams behind it. But it's going to be the repetitive same thing. It's just going to take me time to get through, so I don't want to make a 30-minute movie YouTube that is going to be ran at like 1,000% faster. There's no point to that. But other than, like I said, I want to show you the concept. So this is that spoke that I just finished right now, or didn't finish, but just finished doing the black bar on. And what you saw me use the steel wool, and that's because, so this area was easy to get to clean and looks great, but this area was really close to the rotor, so this didn't get much love before in the past, and you can see the difference there, right? So a huge difference. So this is going to be a really good spot to look at once I get through all of these bars to see how much of an improvement the bars made on an area that wasn't cleaned very often. So yeah, so I'm going to continue to go through. I've already done the outer portion of the rim. I just got to work my way through the spokes, and then from the black bar onto the brown, the white, the green, and then the blue. And then I'll bring you back. So here's a little bit of an in process. So this is after just doing the black bar. And this is after doing the brown bar. So you can kind of see, like, especially up in this area where I was telling you it didn't get much love, it's coming along a little bit, right? Not as much as this part here. You can clearly see that the lower end is shinier, but it is looking a little bit better as opposed to this example, right? So we'll do brown, white, green, blue, and we'll take a look at it. Well, let's take a look. So I just finished up the blue bar and I left the centerpiece undone. So I hadn't done any of the bars on that centerpiece because I wanted to see the difference, right? So kind of looking around. Now, again, I wasn't shooting for that chromed out look. And it looks okay. Like, I'm not like, wow, right? It looks good. What makes it look better is when you actually can see it compared to what it was. So this centerpiece, like I said, I just wiped it down. So, I mean, I didn't want it to be caked on dirt and then be like, anything, looks better than caked on dirt. But when you compare that to that, you can kind of see it's I don't know how well the camera picks it up, but in person, this thing is almost a mirror compared to that. Again, I'm not like, whoa, blown away. So I don't know, like maybe it's my technique. Again, I've never done this before, so it's all a learning experience for me. If you remember, that upper part was so much worse than the lower, and the bar shined it, but I gotta say it didn't like blend it in. So again, it might just be technique. This is something I've never done before, so yeah, I don't know. So I'm going to do this centerpiece, and then I want to work on my rotor and see what I can do for that to clean it up. My expectations aren't very high for this, just based off the results from this. But I mean, who knows? Maybe it'll totally surprise me, and yeah, we'll see what's up. But overall, it is time consuming. I switched to the rotary tool to do the spokes just because it's a little bit easier to get into the areas. And I was killing my batteries pretty quick on my drills. I have a plug-in drill. I just haven't gotten it yet. I'm just not at that point where I want to dig it out. But yeah, it's a little bit of a process, right? So let me finish it up and then we'll compare this side to the other side. Just finished up that center area and it's looking pretty darn good. Sorry for all the dust stuff. That's those friggin' things here, man. These things, they let loose a lot of stuff. So wear a mask. I'm wearing a stupid surgical mask just so I don't breathe in all those particles. But yeah, it does make a little bit of a mess. You'll have to blow that off. But it actually did pretty decent. I feel like almost like it did better on that center portion than it did on these spokes. I don't know. It could just be my mind playing tricks on me. I don't know. But I'm doing the rotor next, and so what I've done is I just kind of cleaned it up really quick with some 000 steel wool. Again, not trying to use it to polish it or anything. And I'm just going to hit these little areas just to make those look really nice. We'll see what's up. All right, so let's take a look at what these look like, compare one side to the other. I'm not going to tighten up my rotors and stuff just yet because I got to torque them. I've still got to add the Loctite to them, so I'll do that on the bike where I can actually put the torque on because I can't really hold the wheel and torque it at the same time. That's a little tough to do. But here is the finished side. Here is what it looked like when we started. You can see how dull that center was. That's exactly how that other side was. Kind of see the lack of polish compared to the bling. All right, so we got these back on, and I didn't do the rotor after all. I mean, I tried it out and I didn't see anything good. I think I need a little bit more abrasive buffing wheel, so maybe I'll come back to it some later point. But for now, I just kind of wiped them down and cleaned them up. But you can see the outcome of the wheel. They look great. My next task is to clean up the black part of this. There's just old oxidized, so I'm sure some rubbing compound on that with a good, a little bit of elbow grease will bring the shine back to that, and will really, make that aluminum pop with that darker black on the wheel. So it took me about, I want to say, a good 2 hours to do that, to do this wheel, both sides. So just be committed to, be ready to commit to that time frame. And then just some lessons learned when dealing with that compound and those buffing wheels. Like, that stuff floats everywhere, so throw a mask on. When I first started, I wasn't wearing a mask, and I could immediately feel myself inhaling those little fibers. It's kind of, I would say it's similar to the experience that you get when you're working with fiberglass almost. So protect yourself, protect your lungs, wear something like that. But again, I think it's time worthwhile. I still need to do the rear wheel, but I'm not too much in a rush for that, just because it's hidden, it's behind the saddlebags. I'll get to it, just not in a rush. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it showed you something. I mean, that's a simple output. Now, there are better wheels out there to be using. So I don't know if they're called buffing or cutting wheels, but they're like fiber, microfiber, or some kind of cloth that looks wrinkled. And so you could put that on, it looks like a polisher sander, but I don't know, maybe even a grinder, it kind of looks like. So you could use that style to get things done. There's a lot of videos of guys doing truck wheels that way. So yeah, and all about what you're willing to spend. I had most of this stuff readily available without the bars. Pretty cool. I don't know, I liked it. A lot less work than trying to do it with, say, some mother's cream, because it gets on the tires and it takes you a whole lot longer, I feel like, to get it. Although it probably be a good finishing touch just to do it, if you want to take time to tape off your tire with some painter's tape, so that way you don't get any of that cream on there, because it gets in the rubber and it's kind of a pain to get out. So again, hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, hit that thumbs up. If you enjoy my content, become a subscriber, and if you don't want to miss out on that next video, hit the notification bell. And until that video does come, I'll see you in the wind.